It's not that I want to become Snoop Dogg on a reggae track. I want to bury Snoop Dogg and become Snoop Lion.
It's like watching a man who always thought he was untouchable finally realize that the walls can close in on him too. Snoop Dogg, the chill legend, the smiling king of the West Coast, is reportedly losing his cool behind the scenes. Word is, there's panic in the air, a little paranoia creeping in, and that eerie silence that shows up when someone's dealing with something they just can't explain out loud. Ever since 50 Cent's Netflix documentary dropped, the one people are calling The Reckoning, the internet hasn't stopped buzzing. But this time, it's not just Diddy catching the heat. Snoop's name is suddenly popping up where nobody expected it. Leaked transcripts, whispered convos, and private clips that were never supposed to go public are all floating around. The cool uncle of hip-hop might not be so chill right now, probably refreshing his phone, wondering just how deep people are digging. And honestly, it's starting to look like Snoop's clean, laid-back image might have been more of a long-running act than anyone realized. That doc hit Netflix like a straight-up grenade. 4 explosive episodes leaving nothing but chaos behind. 50 Cent promised receipts and wow, he definitely delivered. But no one was ready for how deep this thing cut, especially the footage that insiders claim came straight out of Diddy's own private stash, clips never meant for public eyes. Viewers swear they caught glimpses of things that had nothing to do with the case. Strange faces, random voices, secret meetings, and one name keeps echoing in the background, Snoop.
But they don't know the lingo, like if they're not paying attention to the music to understand that there's a problem getting ready to take place.
Are you and Game, you think your relationship is repairable?
You could feel the internet shift overnight. At first, everyone was focused on Diddy's sentence. 50 months in federal time after being found guilty on those 2 transportation for adult activity charges. But then, out of nowhere, the spotlight drifted west, all the way to Long Beach. That's when the theory started flying like wildfire. People began saying Snoop's real loyalty wasn't to death row and it wasn't to the streets either. It was to Diddy himself, the same man the world's now labeling a manipulator, a full-on puppet master. Sounds wild, right? But once you start pulling at those threads, things get real suspicious real fast. We watched the chaos unfold in real time. Posts vanishing, PR reps refusing to speak, and timelines going eerily quiet. Then out of nowhere, Gene Deal, Diddy's former bodyguard, the man who's seen more than most of us could imagine, went live and dropped a few cryptic lines that stopped everyone mid-scroll. He didn't come straight for Snoop, not yet, but what he did say was enough to shake the room. Gene teased that there were people who sat front row to things they swear they never saw. That one sentence hit like a siren. Instantly, the comments blew up. Fans digging through old footage, dusty interviews, and vintage award show clips where Diddy and Snoop looked a little too close for guys who were supposed to be rivals. And when you start lining up the timeline, it starts looking real strange. While Suge Knight was locked up and Diddy was out building empires, Snoop somehow kept gliding through it all, untouched, unbothered, smiling through every era without a single scratch. Feels way too convenient, doesn't it? Now Diddy's sitting inside that infamous Brooklyn detention center, the one insiders literally call hell on earth, his lavish world traded for a cold steel cot and no pillow. Meanwhile, Snoop's still out here, but the calm vibe is gone. Now he's the one everyone's side-eyeing, the one the internet's demanding answers from. And the biggest question flooding every comment section right now is loud and clear. How much did Snoop really know? People close to the chaos are saying 50 Cent's crew didn't just dig deep, they dug dangerously deep. Word is, the footage used in that doc includes raw, uncut clips from the days right before Diddy's arrest, secret meetings, private calls, uninvited visitors, all caught on tape. And somewhere in those buried hours, insiders swear Snoop's name pops up more than once. Now the internet's split. Nobody knows what's worse. If the rumors are true, or if Snoop's silence means they might be. Snoop hasn't said much since the documentary dropped. Just a few cryptic posts, some old videos resurfacing like everything's cool, but no real statement, no denial. For a man who's always built his brand on smooth talk, quick jokes, and endless charm, this new quiet hits different. It feels less like strategy and more like a quiet confession. Behind the scenes, the panic's real. Canceled events, sudden schedule changes, and insiders whispering that something's definitely off. And in this industry, silence isn't peace. It's smoke. Meanwhile, Gene Deal is back popping up on podcasts, dropping hints that send chills down timelines. He didn't say Snoop's name outright, but he made it sound heavy. Everybody wanted to be close to Puff, he warned. Some of them still are. Hearing that from a man who just testified in a federal case tied to those wild private events, secret recordings, and hidden drives, it doesn't sound like random gossip anymore. It sounds like coded truth. Here's where everything gets real messy. Those missing drives everyone online can't stop talking about. The same ones reportedly linked to Kim Porter before her passing are now rumored to hold footage that was never supposed to see the light of day. We're talking about recordings of Diddy's closest circle, the people he trusted most, the ones whose entire careers came from being in his orbit. And according to online chatter, some fans are convinced that Snoop's name might be tied up in that mix too. The theory floating around is wild. Those drives didn't just vanish. People claim they were moved, copied, or even sold before federal agents stormed Diddy's mansions in Miami and LA. The timing's way too perfect to ignore. Files disappearing just days before those March 2025 raids, right when 50 Cent's team was reportedly piecing together the documentary crew. It's like someone knew the walls were closing in and decided to sweep the floor before anyone noticed. When you start connecting those dots, it paints a picture that's hard to shake. Somebody was cleaning house before the storm hit. Somebody who might have known the wind was about to flip direction fast. For years, Snoop's friendship with Diddy was brushed off as just industry love. But now, it's starting to look more like a long, quiet game that's finally catching up to him. Think about it for a second. Back when Diddy and Suge were locked in that infamous feud, Snoop somehow managed to play the middle like a pro. While those two were throwing shots in every direction, Snoop was suddenly spotted shaking hands with Diddy at award shows, popping up at bad boy events, and preaching peace in hip-hop. At the time, it sounded noble, like he was the peacemaker everyone needed. But looking back now, it feels a lot more like strategic positioning. Suge Knight's been shouting from behind bars for years that Snoop was playing both sides, but nobody ever really took him seriously. Until now. Ever since 50 Cent's documentary aired, and Gene Deal started connecting dots that nobody wanted to touch. Those old Suge interviews don't sound bitter anymore. They sound prophetic. According to Suge, Snoop switched alliances the moment Tupac started calling him out, right before that tragic night in Vegas. And if you listen to what the streets have whispered for decades, they've never stopped asking the same thing. How did Snoop walk away untouched when everyone else got caught in the crossfire? Then came the wildest accusation yet. Suge, still behind bars, dropped a bomb saying Snoop actually tried to bail out Keef D.
As I said, never before seen footage of the days leading up to his arrest. Can you just talk a little bit about, was there anything that surprised you from that footage?
The footage, well, I mean, I think it's rare to find someone who's being, talked about all over the country. All eyes were on him, so to speak. And it was really interesting to see his last days of freedom, and what—
The man accused of orchestrating Tupac's shooting. Suge claimed Snoop was nervous about what Keef might say if he stayed locked up too long. That one statement alone sent shockwaves through hip-hop culture. Because seriously, what would Snoop have to worry about? Suge didn't hold back either. He said it clear as day. They've been having people trying to bail the guy out because he talking too much. Whether anyone believes Suge or not, that quote hit deep and reignited decades of suspicion. Diddy's name has always been wrapped up in those Vegas night conspiracy talks. And Keef D himself once claimed Diddy put money on both Tupac and Suge's heads. Now, with all these dots being reconnected years later, it feels like history's finally coming back around. And this time, nobody's laughing it off. If Snoop was ever linked to that chain, even by pure association, that alone could shatter the entire myth of his untouchable innocence overnight. And people online are catching on fast. They're pointing out how every single time Diddy's name gets dragged deeper into chaos, Snoop somehow stays standing right next to the wreckage, calm, grinning, and already flipping the story into something new. Remember when he bought Death Row Records back in 2022? The same label that once nearly destroyed his career? Everyone saw it as a full circle moment, a clean win, like he'd finally conquered his past. But now, looking back through this new lens, that move feels less like nostalgia and more like insurance. Taking control of the story, controlling the archives, maybe even controlling what never makes it out. Because what if, just what if, the footage 50 Cent's crew got wasn't the only footage floating around? The whispers online say there are still more drives, hidden tapes, private videos being traded like underground currency in the industry. And each one could tie another big name back to Diddy's empire. An empire built on connections, secrets, and control. And since Diddy's conviction, the whole energy has flipped. The flashy mogul who once threw parties bigger than movie premieres is now sitting inside a cold Brooklyn cell, denied bail, staring at blank white walls instead of sparkling chandeliers. The FBI made it clear. He's being held because no conditions could guarantee witness safety. Translation: there are still people out there who know too much, and too many who are terrified of what might happen if he ever walked free again. Now that Diddy's locked up, that invisible shield protecting everyone in his old circle is falling apart fast. People who once bragged about knowing Puff since the 90s are suddenly going quiet. Phones off, socials wiped, and messages left on read. And right in the middle of that silence, fans can't help but notice one name that keeps floating up: Snoop. No denials, no explanations, just that trademark grin and a fresh new brand campaign about positivity. It's like watching someone smile calmly while the floorboards creak right under their feet. Since the Netflix documentary dropped, the digital world hasn't slept. Every single day there's some new leak, anonymous emails, shady Reddit threads, and wild blind items spilling supposed behind-the-scenes details. One leak claimed an early version of the documentary actually included a full-on 2021 studio conversation between Diddy and Snoop, recorded in LA, but got yanked at the last minute for legal reasons. That rumor alone had the internet in a chokehold. Then another insider popped up saying there's footage from the night of Kim Porter's memorial, showing people leaving Diddy's mansion with hard drives in their hands. Nothing's confirmed, of course, but that's how today's scandal spread. Not through solid proof, but through whispers, panic, and possibility. And right now, Snoop's maybe sounds louder than anyone else's truth. Meanwhile, 50 Cent's out here running the internet like it's his personal stage. He's posting smirking selfies, dropping cryptic captions, and teasing that there might be a part 2 coming next year. Every single time he does, Snoop's name blows up all over again, even when 50 never mentions him directly. It's turned into a full-blown digital manhunt. Every old clip, every blurry screenshot, every half second of footage frozen and dissected like it's evidence from a case that never closed. And through it all, that calm smile from Snoop feels less like confidence and more like someone holding their breath, waiting to see what surfaces next. And here's the real twist, the irony. For years, Snoop's been the face of peace in hip-hop, the man who supposedly rose above all the chaos while everyone else fell. But now, that same calm he's famous for feels strange, almost eerie, like a mask starting to crack under pressure. You can sense it, that moment when someone's running out of space to hide. Fans who once worshipped him are now split right down the middle. Half say it's a smear job trying to take down a legend, but the other half swear it's just old secrets clawing their way to the surface. And it doesn't help that every single time Snoop gets asked directly about Diddy or those dark Vegas years, he either laughs it off or flips the topic like it's nothing. But people see through that now. We've all watched this movie too many times. First comes the denial, then the deflection, and before you know it, the disappearance. But what if this time's different? What if this isn't just guilt by association? What if it's something deeper? Something that's been hiding in plain sight for 30 years. The whispers don't sound like rumors anymore. They sound like warnings. Former insiders keep hinting that this story stretches way past Diddy's downfall, that his fall might have cracked open a door the entire industry prayed would stay locked forever. Because if Snoop's loyalty was never really to death row, and if he's been connected to Diddy's empire longer than anyone ever guessed,
you gotta realize Big was that type of rapper that he could get at somebody, and I think Puff was trying to tell him, don't go that route. You understand what I'm saying? But still putting out songs like Who Shot Ya in the intro, but telling Big not to go at nobody, which was crazy.
then maybe the real question isn't what he's hiding now. Maybe it's what he's been hiding since back then. To get that answer, you have to rewind the clock. Back to the chaos of the 90s, when everything was loud, the beats, the clothes, the drama, the danger. Back when Death Row Records ruled the streets with equal parts fear and glory. And right there, in the middle of it all, stood Snoop Dogg. Smooth talking, cool smiling, somehow balancing between being the savior and the survivor, while the whole world watched, never realizing just how deep the story might really go. Suge Knight built an empire out of straight-up chaos, and Tupac Shakur was his shining crown jewel. But behind the music videos, the interviews, and all those roaring luxury cars, the cracks in Death Row's loyalty were already showing. And the second Snoop started taking calls from the East Coast, from Sean Puffy Combs and his bad boy crew. That's when the whole story began to rot from the inside out. Suge Knight's been telling this same story from behind bars for years, and he swears he watched it unfold in real time. According to him, Tupac was furious when Snoop went on the radio and casually said he'd work with Biggie and Puffy. That one interview hit like a slap. Betrayal disguised as diplomacy. Suge said Pac tried to confront Snoop about it later at a hotel in New York, and things got ugly fast. He described the moment like the end of a brotherhood. The air thick with anger, disappointment, and disbelief. Suge claimed Tupac was ready to throw hands right then and there, while Snoop just backed off, too cool to engage. The tension was unbearable, and it only got worse from there. By the next day, Snoop refused to even board the same plane back home. That was September 1996, the last time the two ever stood on the same side of the fight. 3 days later, Tupac was gone, and the silence that followed turned into legend, wrapping the truth in layers of myth thick enough to bury a man's entire legacy. The whole world thought Snoop was mourning, but Suge swore he was hiding. We've all seen those old photos. Snoop at the VMAs hugging Puffy like nothing ever went down. The same Puffy who had just lost Biggie in a hail of bullets. The same Puffy who'd been dissed on every single West Coast stage just months earlier. Suddenly, Snoop wasn't Death Row's loyal soldier anymore. He was the smiling face of unity, the peacemaker, the bigger man. But maybe, just maybe, that wasn't healing. Maybe that was the beginning of protection. Suge Knight's version of events has always been straightforward. He says Snoop wasn't switching sides at all. He was just revealing the one he'd been standing on from the very start. When Suge says Snoop was working with Puffy, people used to laugh it off as prison talk. Bitterness, jealousy, old wounds that never healed. But then you remember, Suge was right there when the blood was still fresh on the Vegas pavement. That kind of memory doesn't fade easily. Fast forward to now, and suddenly, Suge's words don't sound like grudges anymore. They sound like confessions delayed by time. He went on record again this year, repeating the claim that Snoop tried to bail out Dwayne Keefe D. Davis, the very man accused of organizing Tupac's ambush. Suge said straight up that Snoop was nervous about what Keefe might be saying behind closed doors. According to Suge, they've been having people trying to bail the guy out because he talking too much. That line hit hip-hop culture like a flashbang. Fast, loud, and impossible to ignore. Because let's not forget, Keefe was the same man who publicly claimed Puffy ordered the hit that ended Tupac's life. So now the question burns hotter than ever. Why would Snoop want that man walking free? The math just doesn't add up, unless the debt between them runs way deeper than anyone ever realized. We went back through the old footage, the interviews, the press clips, the throwback magazine stories. And what's really unsettling is how often Snoop's version of the past keeps shifting. In the early 2000s, he swore he was cool with Tupac before the shooting, said there was no bad blood. Then by 2015, he was calling Pac his brother, saying he never fully understood what went wrong. But now, in 2026, with Diddy locked in that Brooklyn cell, those changes in memory feel less like confusion and more like strategy. This is the same Snoop who once called Suge Knight family, saying they built Death Row together. But now, he's telling fans Suge's just bitter because Snoop owns Death Row Records outright. Sure, on paper it looks like a power move, a poetic full circle win. But for those who remember the real Death Row days, it feels a lot more like a quiet reclamation built on silence.
And Diddy claimed that somebody held a knife to his throat. He woke up and this guy basically had him and he had the knife, and Diddy was at this person's mercy. Now, it's unclear what exactly happened from there. Was there a guard that came in? Did Diddy somehow fight this person off? Seems unlikely that happened. Or did the person just leave? Bottom line, this guy, at least according to people close to Diddy and Diddy himself, could have hurt him badly or even taken his life.
Because let's be real, owning the label means owning the archives. And those archives might just be the last place where the truth still lives, unedited and untouched. Then there's Gene Deal, Diddy's former bodyguard who hasn't stopped talking since the verdict dropped. Every podcast, every interview, he keeps circling back to one haunting point. Snoop knew. He never spells out what exactly Snoop knew, but he doesn't have to. The weight of those words is enough to make people pause. Because if Snoop really did see things, if he was closer to the chaos than anyone realized, then maybe this isn't just about old beef or broken loyalty. Maybe it's about what's been quietly protected all these years, hiding in plain sight behind a smile and a brand built on peace. He might have heard things, maybe even helped bury things. When Gene Deal talks, he doesn't sound like some bitter ex-employee. He sounds like a man walking a tightrope between justice and fear. He keeps reminding everyone that Puff wasn't the only one pulling strings behind the curtain, saying flat out that some of the people fans still believe are squeaky clean had their hands deep in the mess too. For years, those warnings were brushed off as wild conspiracy talk. But now, they sound more like puzzle pieces finally clicking together. The timelines are what make everything feel eerie, like they're syncing up too perfectly to ignore. When Diddy's homes got raided back in March 2025, certain digital drives had already vanished. And while Netflix's The Reckoning was being pieced together, insiders whispered about off-limits footage, private calls, closed-door meetings, and names nobody wanted to be heard. And right around that same time, Snoop's moves started looking suspiciously calculated. Suddenly, he was tightening his circle, cutting longtime staff, wiping old posts that even mentioned Diddy. It almost felt like he could see the storm coming and started scrubbing away his fingerprints before it hit. Maybe that's why, every single time someone online mentions Diddy's criminal enterprise, Snoop's lawyers pop up in the comment sections, quick to remind everyone that he's never been charged with anything. And it's true, no one said he was. They've only said he was there. The deeper you trace the history, the more cursed the timeline feels. After Tupac's death, Snoop escaped death row's chaos and landed in Master P's No Limit camp, reinventing himself, smiling for cameras, acting like a man reborn. But even through all those reinventions, all the brand flips, one thing never changed. He kept hovering around the same rooms, the same names, and maybe the same secrets. Diddy didn't just run the music scene, he ran the social scene. From Kirok-fueled parties to high-end charity galas and industry power dinners, the same faces always showed up. The same whispered deals floated through the air, and the same powerful figures kept guarding the same secrets. Diddy was the master of filmed moments, always surrounded by cameras, documenting every move like he was building his own legacy reel. But what if those tapes weren't about ego at all? What if they were leverage? The kind of insurance that could keep friends loyal for 30 years straight. And that theory isn't just internet gossip. Even longtime industry insiders are starting to murmur the same thing.
If you look at it, they committed fraud. They committed bankruptcy fraud. I didn't lose my company by doing anything wrong.
They claim some of those missing drives might contain unseen footage from the mid-90s. Private moments caught when artists thought the cameras were off. If that's true, it could finally explain how certain people, no matter how wild the scandals got, stayed completely untouchable. Now that Diddy's empire has crumbled, the silence from his old circle feels like a ticking clock. Every day, Snoop's calm, cool image looks more fragile, like it could shatter at any second. And when even Suge Knight, a man with more enemies than allies, doubles down on his story, calling Snoop the man who switched sides before the smoke cleared, it doesn't sound like exaggeration anymore. It sounds like evidence. Meanwhile, Diddy's current reality inside that Brooklyn detention center feels like pure poetic justice. The same mogul who once bragged about running the world now wakes up on a steel cot in a concrete box smaller than his old walk-in closet. His designer suits have been traded for prison blues. His entourage has evaporated, and the friends who once fed off his power are suddenly pretending they never even knew him. The empire he filmed, flexed, and fought to protect has turned into the same thing that's now haunting everyone who ever stood beside him. A record of truth no one was supposed to see. The streets remember. The fans remember. And every single night, another old clip seems to resurface like a ghost from the past. Snoop and Puffy laughing it up at award shows, trading compliments on stage like nothing dark ever lingered between them. But when you watch those moments now, you can feel it. The weight behind the smiles, the tension hidden in plain sight. Even Snoop's recent tributes carry a strange heaviness, like guilt creeping through the cracks. When Young Noble from the Outlaws passed last year, Snoop's condolence post felt different, more somber, almost haunted. Maybe it's just grief, or maybe it's something deeper, because the circle of people who could tell the real story about Tupac's final days keeps shrinking fast. Every time one of them disappears, another piece of the truth fades with them. And the ones left standing, they're the ones rewriting the story. And right now, Snoop's pen seems to be moving faster than ever. It's hard not to notice the parallels. Diddy's downfall started the exact same way. Quiet whispers, unsettling rumors, and people finally stepping up to share things he thought were buried under decades of fame and influence. Nobody believed it at first, then came the lawsuits, The raids, the courtroom chaos, and the verdicts that shocked the industry. Everyone said Diddy would never face real consequences. And yet, there he is, sitting in a federal cell, staring at concrete walls while the rest of the industry quietly checks their own closets for skeletons. And if history really does repeat itself, the next collapse won't be decided by a judge. It'll come straight from the footage. Because footage doesn't lie. Whispers keep circling that somewhere in those missing drives, the same ones that allegedly vanished right before the raids, there's a recording that could change everything. A conversation between Diddy, Snoop, and one other name that no one dares to say out loud yet. Whatever's on that tape, it's got people inside the industry holding their breath. Because if it ever surfaces, the story we thought we knew about hip-hop's most powerful players might completely implode. Insiders close to the documentary crew swear that explosive clip was originally meant to be part of the reckoning, but it got yanked at the very last minute for legal reasons. And if that footage ever leaks, it wouldn't just rewrite how the world remembers Tupac's final days. It would rewrite the entire legacy of two empires that built hip-hop and broke it at the same time. That's where the tension lives right now. Diddy locked away behind cold bars while his empire slowly bleeds out, and Snoop still out here smiling for the cameras, posting like everything's fine. But that calm is starting to look more like a performance. Too perfect, too polished, like someone trying to hold the mask together before it cracks. Suge Knight keeps calling from prison every other week, doubling down on his warnings, saying he told everyone this was coming. Gene Deal's out here pacing in front of microphones, repeating the same chilling phrase. Snoop always knew, and somewhere out there, maybe hidden in a lawyer's vault, maybe sitting forgotten on an editor's hard drive, the missing truth is waiting to detonate. You can feel it building. The clicks are climbing, the comment sections are heating up, and disbelief is slowly turning into full-blown obsession. Every decade, this story rises from the ashes. Same faces, same rumors, same ghosts. But this time, it doesn't feel like the past is staying buried. The walls are closing in, and the whispers are turning into countdowns. Because if that footage ever surfaces, if those voices match, if the money trails and names finally line up, then Snoop's entire legacy could crumble overnight. So here's the question that everyone's too scared to ask out loud. Was Snoop Dogg ever really the peacekeeper he sold us on? Or has he been Diddy's insurance policy this whole time? The one piece on the board that always stayed safe while everyone else fell. Because if the world finds out he's been playing both sides since the 90s, this won't just be another scandal. It'll be the collapse of an era. If this all turns out to be true, it could go down as the biggest betrayal hip-hop has ever seen. A twist that flips decades of loyalty, brotherhood, and history into pure shock. But the real question is, what really happened when the cameras stopped rolling? Who was protecting who, and why? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this story's nowhere near finished. Every day, another piece drops, another secret slips, and another name gets dragged into the light. Stay tuned, stay questioning, and don't blink, because in this game, the truth always leaks. Like, subscribe, share, and comment if you're ready for the next chapter, because the next drop might just change everything.